Hey everybody, this is Professor Lilly, and I want to talk to you about basically the last 2 weeks of the semester. So we just have 3 tabs here in Moodle that you will be concerned about um, at this point. Okay, so let me start up here with the final portfolio project assignment. There actually is a due date, the last day of the semester, which is Wednesday the 9th. Um, so basically, the last week and a half for you, you're going to be working on your portfolio websites and updating them, adding more content, specifically content that what we call embeds. And the idea behind this assignment, especially focusing on the embeds, is not just in WordPress, but on any content management system that you might be asked to use to either create pages or content as an employee later on after you graduate. A lot of you will be basically adding content from other places, and that's why we call it embed. So social media embeds, like embedding a social media post or a stream from an account in social media, um, or basically content that's coming from someplace else, but you're putting it on your website so that visitors to that website can see it. So the concept and ability to use embeds and understand what that means goes way beyond just WordPress, and is a common practice throughout professional media in terms of websites in extending social media as well. So let me focus here first on these important dates, okay? Um, so on this Thursday, we're going to have an optional Zoom lab. So you don't have to come to this one this Thursday. It's just optional. I'm going to be there at my Zoom meeting place at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then again at 12:30. And this is just for students to show up and ask questions about if you're having a difficulty with one of these requirements for the final portfolio um, or anything like that. So, I anticipate not too many people show up, but by all means, show up if you have any questions. And again, this is just going to be optional. Then I decided that we will have portfolio WordPress critiques next Tuesday. So, I mean, normally I would have a review for the final exam. The final exam is going to be mostly reflective, which means I'm going to be asking you kind of questions about your experience in the course and how you progressed, and that's partially it's for you to kind of think about it, but also it's very useful for me to think about how am I going to revise the course for next semester based on your feedback. And this I'm going to be teaching this class online next semester too, and and so it just gives me, especially this year, because normally the class would be hybridized, which means I would be teaching at least one class in the actual computer lab on campus. And so that's just a different experience, obviously, and so your feedback is valuable to me. And then also you're gonna in the final exam, which is again down the very last tab. You're going to be giving me your final tutorial journal for these last couple of weeks, and a couple other things, just in terms of like wrapping up and me getting information. There will be a couple questions that will be graded, but as long as you're prepared, I think of it as an easy, good grade. Not easy because you have to be prepared, but it's not going to be there's not going to be any multiple choice questions. Um, Oops, so let me go back to, and so that what that means is that on the last class here, our actual last class session, or at least last class session slot, we don't need to talk about the final exam because I will send out a video talking all about it. Um, and so we're going to have critiques. I'm not going to do signups. You can show up. Everyone has to participate in the critiques, but you can show up at 11 or 12. Um, and we're gonna do breakout groups. So if a lot of people show up at one, and the most important thing here is you don't necessarily have to show. I mean, if you want to, make sure that you show your website to me, but you're definitely going to show it to the other people in your group. And the reason why we're not doing it also on Thursdays, I just don't think there's enough time for most everyone to get most of the requirements and the embeds and things like that. And Thursday, kind of like I said, since it's optional, it just gives you time to kind of figure out how to get those social media embeds and other things into your on your page. So basically, have a whole week to work on these requirements. And then I've set the due date for all the requirements, all the stuff that needs to be on your final portfolio update on the very last day of the semester. I mean, not including exams, but the last day of regular classes. And so that's the next day, Wednesday, and by that night, you need to have everything wrapped up. And then we have the final exam. I'll get to that in a second, but basically you have a very large window of when you're going to take the final exam, and I'll mention that at the end of this video. So here are the requirements, and it does, like, if you scroll down, you might get a little overwhelmed. It is kind of detailed, but a lot of these things you've already done, and it's just in here to make sure that you remember if you haven't done something from the previous um, uh, module when the first 3 weeks when we started working on WordPress. If there's anything missing, you need to make sure it's there. So what's different? Well, everyone should have your about page with your bio and your resume, or your photo, profile photo, your resume page with the resume text. This time I want to have two versions of your resume as download buttons. So you can do, and I'm asking specifically for a .doc. So your resume, your kind of business resume, as a .doc file that's downloaded with the button, and your creative resume as well. Some of you also have your creative resume on there as a photo, and that's fine. That's great to kind of have that visual on there. But I also wanted it as a button to download the .pdf. And then one thing that's a little bit different is I'm asking for a contact page with an actual contact form. And what that looks like is this. And a lot of you had the contact page with your information. And just to let you know, you don't, well, this is just, yeah, actually her address. You don't have to put something that's too personal. So if I personally wouldn't have my actual mobile phone number on a website, and I wouldn't have my personal home address on a website, just because you never know who's going to find it, and they don't need to know that. So, but what you do need is your email address, and then, by having this contact form here, it eliminates the need to have some other ways for people to contact you. And then we have links in Moodle and how to do this. And then also in the optional review session, I can show people. But it's a very easy element that's already included. And in fact, I could easily make another video showing how to do this in WordPress. It's already kind of a pre set up to make it an easy install to have a contact like this. And you do it through setting up a widget and then having inserting it with a block. So that's one thing that's different. The other thing is that I'm asking you for you to have at least 6 different pages on your site. So Dina here has let's count them. She has her calligraphy and writing samples page. She has a multimedia page that would have her audio activity, her video activity, and her Spark page. She has her graphic design from the graphics module. She has extra photography, and then She has about and contact. One thing she doesn't have up here, and maybe because it's on a different page, maybe it's on her about page, but she doesn't have a resume page. So if she had the resume, she would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, and I'm asking you to have at least 6. And some of those you kind of get to decide what's on them. So you want to have at least 3 portfolio type pages. So that means like pages that have portfolio content on them. So she actually has 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 pages that have portfolio type content, and then she has these additional pages here. One other thing, and I'm going to talk about the embeds in a second, that everyone has to have is a favicon, and it's really hard to see. But up here, you see this little graphic that's actually her monogram. She's reduced it way down in size to about like 20 by 20, and that's the favicon. So any website, especially very easy on WordPress, you could set a small graphic to be the small icon that comes up in the corner of any browser that's looking at the website. So you can see here for our course, Moodle has a favicon that's kind of like this stylized M. Outlook has a favicon that's this kind of design. Like Facebook has the little F, Twitter has the little bird, and they've set it in their content management systems to come up as just a kind of branding icon that comes up in the corner to help people. If you have a whole bunch of tabs open, it just helps people to navigate and realize like, oh, that's that site or that's this site. So again, it's an aspect of branding. So and on Moodle we have, or I have at least two links to show you easily how to create or insert those monograms. And basically you have to, or not necessarily monograms, but favicons, but you choose something very simple. So maybe with only a few colors, and if there's any letters, like they have to be very big on that design, because we're talking about something that's only like 20 by 20 pixels in size. So you basically go to InDesign, or rather, I'm sorry, Illustrator, or you could even do it in Photoshop to create those. But if you're going to use a monogram or icon you've already created, then you go to Illustrator, reduce the size or to export and the very small size, and then you'll have a PNG or a GIF. And then in WordPress, you just set that, upload it, and set that as your favicon. And that's mentioned here down below. So one other thing for your home pages, some of you have this, some of you not so much. But make sure on your home pages you have some kind of feature element. So with Dina here, this is her main page, her home page. She has a little kind of a welcome statement here, and then just a few kind of random samples of her work. And then she also has one of her required embeds, and I'm requiring you to have at least 5 different types of embedded media. Now you already have some embedded media, so you already have your a Spark page would count as 1. A YouTube video would count as 2. So we're talking about different formats. Her video doesn't work. Now this would be bad if I was coming to grade it, but who knows? Since she's taken the course, maybe she's gone to YouTube and she's deleted this video, and she's forgotten that it's here. So you don't want a broken YouTube video embed to show up right now, but later on you can get rid of those if you want. And then she also has audio already. So she already has 3 types of embeds before she even gets to the final project. And then she's put in a Twitter feed. And I've given you some links in terms of how to get social media feeds, or sometimes we call those streams. The one key to these is it has to be a public Instagram or public, or I guess on Twitter, I don't think there's a way to do a private Twitter feed. Pretty much everything is public. Or if you have like a company that it has a public Facebook page as opposed to a private account where people have to friend you. So it has to be public. So I've had students who try to get their Instagram feed to show up. But at the very beginning, when they set their Instagram up, they set it up as private, where you have to approve for people to be able to follow you for them to see your content, as opposed to companies or some individuals who just go ahead and say, I want my feed to be or account to be open to the public. So if that's the case, if you have a private account, but let's say you follow a journalist or a celebrity or someone who you kind of want to emulate your career after in Instagram, and they have a public account, then you could just set the embed of the stream on your site to show up here. Or wherever in the site. Some of so her site has or her theme rather has a section on where there's a sidebar over here. A lot of your themes have a sidebar set up over here. So through a widget, you can put your social media feed that you want to show up on your site on a sidebar over on this side. It kind of depends, and it's on some. There's even a section for a footer. So it seems like here she's also put it in a Spotify playlist. So again, it has to be a public Spotify playlist. She's probably since then deleted it, the playlist itself, or maybe she's deleted her account. So I think when I went to grade this, when she was actually in the course, I could see the actual playlist here, and I could play them from here. And again, it doesn't have to be your Spotify playlist, but it has to be a public Spotify playlist, and you just use the widget, and you tell it the link to that playlist, and then the playlist will show up here as an embed. So for her, I'm not sure if this is showing up on every page, which means that it's in the footer spot for her whole page, or if she's just throwing it in at the bottom of this particular her homepage. So basically, on your homepage, you just want to have something unique. We call it a feature element, something that's not just complete. It can be a little bit redundant to some of the work from other pages, but just something unique, a feature element that's just for your homepage. Your portfolio. So I'm asking you to have at least 3 portfolio web pages, or rather pages with content, and I want you to have at least 1 photo gallery. Some of you have already used that block, the photo gallery block. It could be on like a personal photography page, or you could use it in your to show off your monograms or your icons or something like that. And then make sure that you're also following the guidelines from the original WordPress activity from a few weeks ago. Another thing that I'm requiring, it doesn't have to be on your About page, even though it's listed here, but I want you to have a Google Map embed somewhere on the site. So for her, let's see, I think, is it under About? I know I saw it when I was looking at her page. Okay, so here it is. So, and again, I have a link on easily, like you can go to Google Maps, you find the URL for a particular location, and then you generate an embed with a widget here. So, and it could be anywhere. I mean, like you could choose to just have on your About page or your contact page a Google Map embed to Loyola, or you could have it to your favorite restaurant in your hometown. I wouldn't put your home address just in terms of privacy issues, but you could have like your hometown itself, just like the pin for wherever Google says the central location is for your hometown. I think that's fine. That's not too much of a privacy issue there. So yeah, somewhere. So it has to be, and I'll be looking for it. So you put on the About page, or probably, or your contact page. All right, and like I said before, we want a .doc version of your business resume and a button for your creative resume as a PDF. Make sure you have the contact form here for your contact page, your favicon, and at least 5 types of embedded content. Okay. So the one I didn't, yeah, Spotify playlist, and these are all just options. So you see, oh my God, there's 8 here listed here. So I'm just giving you ideas of what they could be. But you already have your YouTube video, and you already have a audio embed. Okay. Add more than 5. That would be great. That would impress me. It may be something that's not on this list. Something I haven't thought of. Now, this list down below are just things we talked about throughout these, or at least since we started WordPress. If you're having any kind of navigation issue with your menu, think about updating that. If for some reason you're having an issue and you notice that your site isn't loading fast, that might be a problem with the theme. So consider that. And just think about how your content is organized when you're going to your portfolio pages on your site. Is it easy to find the content? Do they look good? Are they placed well? Think about the 8 design principles here. Like, is there a page that has a gigantic white space in the middle, kind of in an awkward way? Or are things easy to find and easy to look at? Here at the bottom is a link to how to create in WordPress, upload and identify it as your favicon, so your favicon shows up on your page tab. This here at the bottom, this is how I'm going to grade the final project. So I'm just going to click on it real quick. You do not have to add anything in here. Okay, this is just there so that you can click on it and see what the rubric is for grading. But there's nothing you need to add. It just exists there, so it's in the grade book. So one thing to note, and I'm pretty sure it's not mentioned anywhere else, and some weeks or some semesters where we had a lot more time after Thanksgiving, I've assigned a second Spark page and called it the final Spark page project. This semester, there's just only a week and a half after Thanksgiving, so there's not enough time. So I've just included your Thanksgiving Spark page in the rubric. So presumably you've already done this. So you can go in and make sure they're looking pretty good. You can go back in and edit those Thanksgiving Spark pages, but you've already done that. It's just in terms of the grading, I've rolled it into the final project grading. And then I'm just looking for all these things. Actually, I need to change this because I'm asking for 5 types of embedded media. Your favicon, is your portfolio contents there and looking good? I'm going to be looking to make sure you have at least 3 portfolio pages. Is your contact page there, and does it have the actual contact form? And do you have feature content on your home pages? One thing I want to mention is make sure, I'm going to do a second video just talking about widgets, and I also show you how to do the contact form. But if there, and it doesn't look like there is for her, if there's any generic content that your theme put up there, like there's a lot of themes that have sidebars already set up that might have a calendar, it might have a search feature. Like this search feature is fairly innocuous, but it might have a huge gigantic search box. It might have a list of links that haven't been set yet. So if there's any kind of sidebar or footer information that's or what we call widgets that are set up and they just haven't been set up and they're just sitting there looking really awkward, then go into your widgets section and get rid of them. Okay, so we don't want anything that the theme added that you're not actually using. On a a portfolio website like this, there's no reason to have a calendar feature. There's a whole, but there's no reason to have a list of links that are just sitting there and not set up, or an archive for your posts because you're not a real blog. So all that kind of stuff, like just go ahead to the widgets and get rid of any material that your website set up. Sometimes there are areas like this where that it's already assumed you want to have some social media links. And so if that's there, then go ahead and set them to your social media. Or if you don't want them to be there, then get rid of them in your theme. So this, I'm also kind of testing you to, and I said that for the first WordPress activity, I wasn't going to worry about like all that extra theme stuff that was thrown in there with your theme. And now I am, though, because this is your final portfolio. You're getting it ready for the world. Maybe you're going to use it after you update it later on to get internships and to get jobs, because you're going to have your access to this, and you can update this for a couple more years until after you graduate. So you want it to look good. So if there's any kind of stuff that the theme put in there as just a placeholder or to show what you can do, if you're not using it, go ahead and delete it. And I can tell here, there's nothing really here for me to point out. And like I said, more than likely, she, after the course was over, she got rid of this Spotify, or maybe she got rid of her Spotify account. So that's why we see this kind of broken embed right here. Okay, so just lastly, this is the tab I've created just as a separate tab, and it just gives you, these are what I would call the tutorials for this final project, and it's just all sorts of information. And so how, if you have a video that's a Vimeo instead of a YouTube video, what do you do with that? If you want to do a SoundCloud, it's easy to find out how to do a Spotify. I could add that in here, but again, you could just Google it. For the Instagram feed generator, again, these have to be public Instagram feeds. When I send out the next video that's going to talk to you a little bit more about widgets, because you can find widgets directly through your WordPress dashboard that are on WordPress.org. And if that's the case, I'm just going to warn you that some of them, you're going to look and you're going to find 3 different Twitter feeds, or more like 30 different Twitter feed plugins that you could choose. And some work better than others. So just look at the reviews, and if they're really popular, same with the Instagram feed generator, and Facebook, if you have a page, again, a public page, not a private account, that you want to embed. And try them out. Don't assume that it's going to work. So try it out and go and look at your page after you've saved it and see if that content is coming in there. So you need to kind of troubleshoot and identify if there's anything that's not working. And then also, lastly, for embedding your Google Map here, either on your About page or your Contact page. Okay, so this is basically all the tutorials for this final project for the embeds. And then lastly, and again, I'll talk more about the final exam later. Basically, the final exam, I'm giving you a really big window here between, this window accounts for the normal scheduled time of the final exam for each of our 2 sections. So one of them is Saturday afternoon, and the other one is Monday morning. So I'm giving you between Saturday at noon and Monday at noon. So that means you can't start it Monday at noon. That's when it's going to close. It's going to open Saturday the 12th at noon, and it's going to close Monday the 12th at noon. And it's going to give you 2 hours. So let's say you decide to do it Saturday night. Then as soon as you click on that and start the exam, it's going to start timing, and it's going to give you 2 hours, which is plenty of time because there's no multiple choice questions. There's a lot of feedback questions, but the only 2 things that are really going to be graded are just 2 essay questions, and they're longish, okay, but you will have plenty of time to be able to do them. And I'm just giving you here how I would like you to cite, okay. Again, I'm going to put out my next video. I'll talk a little bit more about this, but right now I can't think of what else I would say because all the guidelines are here, and this tells you specifically when you can log in. And in terms of the feedback questions, as long as you give me a genuine answer to that, and so for some of them I'll say in 2 to 3 sentences, what did you think of this or that? And as long as you give full answers, then you get all the points for that question, okay? So if you come in there and I ask for 2 or 3 questions and you give me a short phrase, like, yeah, I thought it was good, when I'm asking for 4 or 5 sentences, then you would get dinged for points. So, which would be kind of silly, right? Because I'm not, I'm just giving you credit for if you actually answer as much as I ask you to answer, because I'm asking for your opinion, your feedback on certain aspects of the course here. So it's really easy to get um, full points for that. And in this one, I am going to put it all on one page. So if you want, you can jump first to the 2 questions that you are going to be graded on. But then you have to come back and make sure you give actual answers, full answers for these course feedback, or I'm not going to give you the full points. Okay, whatever you want to say it, but you got to make sure you give full answers to those feedback questions. And then also you should have your tutorial journal for the starting with the Spark page assignment, Spark page, and then these final embed aspects to the final portfolio website, and so have that already typed up, and then there'll be one question that asks you to paste in your tutorial journal for these final few weeks. So that's where you will turn that in, and to get those points on the final exam, you just have to submit it. Okay. Everyone's familiar with the tutorial journal at this point, and then here's the link down here. Okay, so I hope everyone has a great week. Again, if you have questions associated with anything or need some help, you can show up this Thursday at either 11 or 12:30. Okay, have a great week.